Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. And pushing for accountability and governance and to help expose official corruption, Human Rights Watchdog Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is asking for the asset declaration details of past presidents and governors in Nigeria be made public. And it has gone a step further to sue the Code of Conduct for its failure to disclose assets declared by presidents and governors between 1999 and 2019. And that's a whopping about 20 years. Tokunbo Mumuni, Executive Director of SERAP, joins us now to discuss this and ways to improve accountability and governance. And this is really apt for the moment. Welcome. Welcome to you, sir.
It's a pleasure being here.
Okay, great.
Thank you for joining us.
Let's go straight to it. For 20 years, governors, past presidents, declared the asset. They made this declaration, the Code of Conduct Bureau. All of these declarations are warehoused. Why? Let's say it's warehoused, pretty much.
Yes.
Why hasn't this been made in the public space? Because when we talk about accountability, me sitting down here, I know the worth of the man about to be the next prime minister in Britain. I know his salary. I know his take-home pay. I know the British prime minister earns £187,000 sterling a year. Why is that we don't see that in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. What I think we should start doing as citizens of Nigeria, once a law is made for our benefit and for the benefit of the Nigerian populace as a whole, we should continue to demand that those laws be made to work. What we have been lacking as citizens is that we don't push at all, or we don't push far enough. You see, when the Code of Conduct provisions were made, it is for the purpose of transparency and accountability. And you can say it is not possible legally until 2011, when the Freedom of Information Act was promulgated. So since the promulgation of the Freedom of Information Act in 2011, May 28, that has become a matter of constitutional provision, a matter of law that citizens are entitled to ask for information kept with any government official or any government institution. And once you satisfy the requirements of the law, you are entitled to the information. And what we have seen is that we have requested for details of the asset declaration forms of the past presidents, past governors. The CCB has told us that giving us those information would appear to be infringing on the privacy of those that fill the form. But I say, the provision of the Constitution that talks about the president, the vice president, the governors, the deputy governor, all public officials have stamped them public officials. So a public official cannot issue a document and you now say it is a private thing once the thing is shown to the public. The fact that he even gave it to a public institution, as even if it were private before, has removed it from the realms of privacy. It is now a public document. And you see, once you are a public official, you can no longer issue a private document.
Last time you were on the show, right after the elections,
Yes.
you said you were coming from ethical and moral perspective
Yes.
to pursue this because you understood that it was not from law, that the law of the land did not cater for public asset declaration. So are you changing that?
No.
And why are you pursuing this when you know that it is not in the law?
No, because the Freedom of Information Act makes it binding on any public institution or public officials that have any public document. The Code of Conduct form filled by the past president, by past governors, once it is filled and kept in public custody, becomes a public document by virtue of provisions of the Freedom of Information Act. So it is on that ground that we will be entitled to go to court to ask for the mandamus order of the court that they should be compelled to give us what we want. Because the Code of Conduct provisions is not there for nothing. Unless citizens endeavor to make Nigerian law work, it will not work.
Hang on a minute, but also in the public space, after this asset declaration are made, we normally hear them being published. In fact, we've read in newspaper, and that's how we know that, take for instance, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has a house XYZ in some places and things like that. You know, we have a summary of this? I mean, doesn't that hold water enough?
No, no, no. If you have a summary, you are still talking about snippets.
Okay.
But we want the content of those information.
And what's the classification of those documents? Are they classified documents?
No, they are not. Because by virtue of the Freedom of Information Act, the classification of documents as special does not arise. The only thing that we cannot ask for as public information is matters relating to the defense, matters related to security, extreme security matter. That's the only thing we cannot ask for.
Does asset declaration help reduce corruption by public officials?
No, because if we are given the chance to pursue and to interrogate those forms, it will promote anti-corruption in Nigeria.
The president of Rwanda was recently in the country, and he says to African leaders, including Nigeria's president, that we should focus more on improving the livelihoods of the people than focus on corruption. Would you say that our priorities are wrong in fighting corruption? I mean, he says we should focus on human capital before fighting corruption.
I think that is part of what governments are established for. A government that is not able to cater for its citizens, to me, they constitute band of armed robbers. Because the Constitution says the primary purpose of government shall be the welfare and security of the citizens. So before you can start talking about the welfare and security of citizens, let's give them things to make life whole first. Things that will make life meaningful and enjoyable. It is then that it is after you have dealt with those ones that you can easily fight corruption, because there are things that make it possible for citizens to be corrupt. It is when you clear essential matters for people, matters of good health, matters of education, matters bordering on things that makes life whole. That is then.
So when you look at the priorities of President Muhammad Buhari so far, I mean, it's the same promises, the three-tier of economy, security, and anti-corruption. Would you say that we've gotten it wrong so far? And listening to his Democracy Day speech, he also harped on the need to fight corruption. He says there will be no hiding place for those who, steal, basically rephrasing what he said. Do you think we've gotten it wrong?
No. You see, the focus of Buhari since he came in 2015 are matters of concern to Nigerians. One, matters of the economy. One, matters of fighting corruption. Then the third is security. So when the citizens are secured, they have the wherewithal and the fillip to progress in life. When the economy is okay, citizens will also progress. When corruption is fought, it means leakages and seepages are blocked. Monies stolen are recovered. So I believe that they represent, in a manner of speaking, what Nigerians want. Only that there are certain things that must be put in place before we can be talking about those basic things.
Okay, I want to interrogate further on technicalities.
Yes.
When a serving leader submits this at the Code of Conduct, is there like a fact check or a verification check of the authenticity, or is based on the submission of that leader?
Thank you very much. You see, the Code of Conduct thing is not there for fun. Citizens, once they, like SERAP is demanding that those things given to Code of Conduct be made available, it is supposed to interrogate it. When you have it, you now start doing fact check. Some Nigerian politicians are so smart, they do what we call anticipatory declaration. They don't have 2 cars before coming to office. They will have made the declaration of 4 or 5 cars. And when they now get to office, they will now start acquiring things legally and immorally to justify what they have declared. So as soon as the thing is declared, let the citizens have access to it so that they can now fact check what actually is the worth of this person.
So that takes me to another technicality, the Onoge's case.
Yes.
So apparently, maybe somebody that reported the Chief Justice Onoge did have access to his declaration to even be able to say that there's another bank account somewhere he didn't declare. So people do have access to this if they want.
We would let the person, the institution, to whom the forms have been submitted, let it provide it as a matter of law under the Freedom of Information Act.
So, but what I'm saying is people do have access to it because if I to postulate from the August case, obviously somebody had seen what he had declared to be able to say, okay,
He has not declared
he had
this.
not declared this. And
Probably-
he wrote the petition.
Probably so. I don't have such...
So people do have access to it, right?
If people have access to it, they have it. But there is a more formal and fundamental way by which people should have access to it. It is by application to the Court of Common Bureau.
So have you tried applying to them and they didn't give you?
No, that's why we are in court. We have applied to them. They now said, giving us that information will invade on the privacy of those that have made declaration. Whereas they are public officials, commissioners has declared them so. A public official has no right to make anything private.
Let's turn our attention to something else, which SERAP has been fighting recent times. It's the pay of the lawmakers, national lawmakers. Just yesterday, the President of the Senate says there's nothing like jumbo pay. He, as the Senate President of Nigeria, earns 750,000 naira. What's your take on that?
750,000 naira per month or per annum?
Bill? Per annum?
No,
Per month. Per month.
Now, you see, what those who rule us deceive us with is their actual take-home pay. But they have refused to let us have what they collect for various sittings as chairman of committee. So allowances outweigh salaries. And when it is like that, you are just giving us...
Is that all the purview of the revenue mobilization and fiscal?
And you see, when you interrogate the process, you will now discover that, in a manner of speaking, the Revenue, Physical and Mobilization Committee is not doing what it should do. Because
what is it supposed to do?
No, because what the Revenue and Physical and Mobilization Committee is supposed to do is set salaries and allowances of our public officers in a manner that is realistic to the economy of Nigeria, in a manner that is sustainable to the economy of Nigeria. It is not as if that body is there just to start fixing what is unrealistic.
Mr. Mumuni, we'll come and talk more about this, but let's go on a quick break. Welcome back to the Morning Show. The Executive Director of SERAP, Tokunbo Mumuni, is still with us in the studio. Thank you so much for staying with us.
It's a pleasure.
We are talking about the allowances of the lawmakers outweighing their salaries, which they disclose. Well, is it illegal to have these allowances? Are they not regular allowances for housing and the rest of them? Plus, is this only for the lawmakers? Isn't it the same benefits the executive and the judiciary also enjoy? Why is the fixation on the national lawmakers and their allowances?
And I also want to add to that, Adesua, real quickly, because a lot of these lawmakers are even saying, what are these allowances? They're not enough. And you know, as we speak now, most of them are still stranded, homeless in Abuja.
Is it illegal to have these allowances?
No, what we say is the volume of the allowances. Let us assume that somebody is entitled to an allowance. Let's talk about a private establishment, for instance. Would a private establishment that is not a public institution give such voluminous allowance to its worker? The answer is no. You see, we should be talking about sustainability and reasonability of the allowance. We have a situation where the average Nigerian worker is still talking about 30,000 naira per month. And we now start talking about allowances in billions together for these lawmakers. And this is an economy where governors are saying we cannot pay 30,000 naira. How justifiable, how ethical, how morally right is it to pay such allowances? Those are the questions we should be asking ourselves.
But the other part, so that we don't lose sight of that. So there's so much focus on the national lawmakers. You've raised salient points about governance there. Yes. But there are other arms of government who also enjoy these benefits. Why don't we hear about them? And then on at the state level, isn't it the same thing happening? Is there anybody looking into that?
You see, what I know is that SERAP is for whatever is not fair, is not reasonable within the Nigerian socio-political economic life.
So the benefits for the executive and judiciary is fair?
No. What I'm saying is that we have challenged We raised the issue of double emolument for ministers. We raised it, governors collecting multiple allowance and entitlements. You understand? So we are not concerned about the members of the legislators alone. Whatever is not reasonable for the legislator in the face of the Nigerian economy will also not be justified for the members of the executive, whether at the state or at the federal level.
Okay.
Also within the context of the Nigerian economy.
Okay. Let's talk about severance package for public office holders.
Yes.
I saw a report come out recently about the huge severance package running into billions. Ex-ministers, this, that, everybody. There's been talk in the public space, shouldn't they go through the contributory pension scheme rather than having a severance package? While they're in their ministerial position, their salaries too, contributory pension should be taken out of it. And when they are leaving, they should apply the laws of the land as regards contributory pension, have it in a storehouse for them, they pick it up at their time. What would you say about this? Because this is another big part of the economy. You know how many schools those severance packages alone will build?
Let me say straight away that whatever we say, we mean it. And we have said only one type of pension, for instance, is due to any public officer. Once, for example, let's take the president, for instance. He is a retired military person. He was collecting military pensions before he now got into presidency. And so I will say our president, once he starts collecting military pension, is totally excluded from any other form of pension. That is, to me, when it will not be double emolument, double compensation for him. So same when you are a former senator or you are a former governor, you became a senator, how possible will it be for a private establishment to be paying double compensations to his worker?
No, but I'm talking of severance package now.
No, severance package to me, you are collecting, for instance, a package as a retired military general. So you should no longer be entitled to another severance package as a civilian president. That's the point I'm making. So that your package will just be one and once and for all.
Again, it's very important to draw this to closer to the people, the local government, the state level. Would you be taking this important work you're doing closer to the state? For instance, a state like Lagos, where even the Freedom of Information Act has not been domesticated. And there are issues of the budgets being shrouded in a lot of secrecy. What are you doing in a state like Lagos State concerning that?
No, I think we took a matter concerning Lagos State to court earlier. The lower court ruled against us. We cited the decision of Court of Appeal of a particular division to the court. It was not satisfied because he overruled us with another Court of Appeal decision. So we are the Supreme Court in respect of that. But the truth of the matter is that we are not leaving anything unturned until we get to Supreme Court on this matter. So that, because the issue of domestication of a law does not apply domestically. It is a matter for international law. And it is, when you say a law is made in Britain, for instance, it has not been domesticated in Nigeria. That's the only reason to be talking about domestication.
But in this regard, since Nigeria is a federation, the states are federating units. So when you make a law nationally, in this regard, what you're saying is domesticating in the federating units, in the states.
What I say to that is to refer to the Supreme Court case involving the ICPC, when the Ondo State governor then said the provision of the ICPC should not bind Ondo State government. And the game went up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said no. There is a provision in the Constitution that talks about that we should all cooperate to fight corruption. I think section 15, section 5 of the Constitution is talking about all state policies, whether state, federal, shall be tailored towards the fight against corruption. And it was on that ground that Supreme Court held that ICPC has a right.
But in that regard, as we move on from this, because we don't have a back and forth as regards that. As we move on from this, what would you say, and this is why I did talk about the specific terms about states, what would you say about states that the National Assembly passed laws of lifetime pension?
You see,
What are you doing? Kano, for instance.
let me say, no, there are a lot of states that have done so.
Yeah.
Lagos State, Akwa Ibom State.
In less than 20 seconds. What do you say about that?
Now, you see, those to me are immoral laws. They are unethical laws. When you are given the power of legislation, the power must be exercised for the benefit of the people, not to fester your own personal interest. That's our take on it.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll definitely have more conversations, and we'll stop it there. From what you have said at SERAP, it shows that power can be exercised or exorcised, as it were. That's our show for you this morning.
I'm Adesoa Omoran.
And I'm Rufai Yoseni.
Goodbye.